and Jonesy know what it's all about. From burnouts and doubts to boundaries that stick. We're right here with you through thick and thick. Do what you want because you're grown. You don't need to hustle all on your own. With that voice in your ear when it all goes whack. Take a deep breath, we got your back.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. So sorry about that.
Okay.
Jonesy's phone is not being very nice to us.
Yeah. Or somebody's trying to hack your account.
So we have a shared account at the marketing agency, and literally 10 of us use that one account. We're not paying for 10 different Canva accounts.
You should not.
So
I get the same thing.
And it's probably going to happen again. So anyway, sorry, business interruptions. That's all part of it. The part they don't talk about. So sorry, continue.
Yes.
Well, okay, so 17, first piece of jewelry. Spent my entire career in jewelry up to the age of 37, like as a physical maker. Like, so making, designing, stone setting. I did casting. I worked in the industry, like, for a long time. I had my own custom design business, my own fine line of jewelry. I worked several different locations around here. I worked for Hamilton Jewelers for a long time in Princeton. Roman Jewelers at the time was in Flemington and Bridgewater. They have just a Bridgewater location now. And then Gem Vault up in Flemington as well. Who they're still around and do amazing work if anybody needs some cool jewelry.
I've heard of all these places through various television and radio commercials.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
These are big names.
Yeah.
Jewelry. Yeah.
So, and then, I've also, I got to cut my customer service chops at Hamilton and Princeton, and that was an incredible lesson because they're really high end, like one of the most premier, probably family owned jewelry companies on the East Coast and potentially in the country. And just learning from people that are at that level when you're selling things that are that expensive, it was pretty incredible. So I got to learn a lot about that industry through them. And then, but I've done I've had my hand in almost every little piece of the jewelry business industry. And then in 2016, I was running my jewelry company, and then my husband lost his job, and we had just bought a condo. We were living in Jersey City. It was the first...
Oh, and you were in Jersey City,
we were in Jersey City.
It wasn't expensive for you.
Yeah, exactly. It was great. So, a very expensive price per square foot. But we had just bought it. He lost his job unexpectedly. And then I was running my jewelry company, which I was making money at, but I was we really needed some more cash coming in the door. So, I actually took a job with this company called Flourish and Thrive Academy, which was an online educational company specifically for jewelry designers. So
you were educating people on the process of making jewelry?
No, actually on the business side of things.
Oh.
Yeah. And that is how I started making the pivot because I was already running a business at that point in time. Yeah. And then basically what I ended up doing was I started off in sort of customer service and community management for them because it's an online educational company. Mm-hmm. So everything is being run through Facebook groups or, online video sessions, whatever, that we are much more, used to now, but in 2016, not as much.
That was
exactly. Yeah. So I started with that, and then I was there with them almost 5 years, and by the time I left, I was their director of education. So I was helping with their marketing funnels. I was helping develop all of their courses, also overseeing all the how you enter into the program in a beginning level and how you go and move through the whole program all the way to the end. I was doing a lot of one-on-one coaching, doing a lot of branding coaching. Mm-hmm. I had 14 coaches reporting to me under one program, and then we had several thousand students. So, and it was a lot of fun. And actually that is where I kind of made the pivot into maybe I don't want to make things anymore. I loved the business side of it so much, but I got to see behind the scenes in so many people's businesses. It was eye-opening to see the level of passion. I mean, I was already a business owner, so it's something I didn't know. Mm-hmm. But when you get to see it through somebody else's lens in that private coaching space, where you're understanding what they're going through personally, just to make sure that this piece of jewelry can pay for their kids and their house and their everything is insane. And that's where I started making the pivot of maybe I don't want to physically make things anymore, and maybe I want to run a business that supports people that do. That was the big pivot. Yeah.
I like that, and I think that's your avenue because you're a builder upper if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
I like that.
What do you call one of those people
So
that
I would use the same terminology.
That wants to, that's always building people up around them?
I literally wrote an email. I did a ton of copywriting when I was doing it too, which I was already a good writer, but I was very fortunate. The woman that owns the company is super smart, and I got to learn so much from her. So I did a ton of copywriting for them. So I was literally writing an email yesterday that went out to our VIP email list, and I was like, I'm the hype man. Like, that's literally what I am. Like, if I'm not excited by this, then what am I doing here? I'm literally the hype man. So, right. Builder Upper's good.
I'm giving you my Jess Energy bookmark since it's on there. And anyone can have Jess Energy.
Yeah.
Not just Jess's.
Yeah.
I like to borrow and siphon from time to time.
Yeah, take a little Jess Energy home.
It's exhausting to live that life, but I do like to dabble.
Get a little bit of energy.
Get a little bit. Do you make anything at all anymore? Just a dabble or
Well, I actually spent all of yesterday making bouquets that we're selling in the storefront event this weekend. Cool. So dried flower ones. So I do a lot of creative stuff. It just looks really different. You still get that creative
outlet somewhere.
Yeah, and I find owning a business really is super creative. I'm sure there's a lot that I don't know how creative being a lawyer would be. I guess it just depends. You can get real creative with your contracts.
Lots of things. If you're a litigator, you have to get a creative angle.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, exactly.
If you're arguing something,
creativity is a big one.
Yeah,
I think I'll come back to that over and over again. My husband is in the design industry, so UX UI, and so we talk about design and creativity as a big thing in our household and has been forever because we both went to art school. And
is that where you guys met?
High school.
I think you told me this before because there was a very cute picture of you two as children.
Oh yeah, we're kids. Yeah. We have pictures of us when we were 17 and my sister is 10.
Oh wow.
Yes.
It's your husband
well, we kind of grew up together.
Literally your sister. That's it's weird when you think about it.
It is as an adult now. Yeah. It definitely is. Our 20th wedding anniversary is actually in a couple of months, and I was thinking back and I was we literally grew up together, which is
weird
it's
to think
very...
that you've been married for 20 years when you're so young.
Well, thanks.
That's awesome. Yeah.
20 years. What?
Mm-hmm.
So you've only been it's weird. You're married 20 years. You're only 25.
Yeah, I know.
Wow, that's some weird stuff.
Thanks. I'll take it.
An arranged marriage from the start, really.
Yeah.
No, I'm 42 for the record, so yeah.
For the record, she's 42.
Yeah, there we go. Exactly.
And the best part about recording something is in 10 years you'll still be 42. As far as this video is concerned, I'm even in 10 years, I'm still 42. Just like I was still 25 5 seconds ago.
Yes. I'm still 16.
Yeah.
I didn't know that you owned a jewelry line business before you owned Krysset.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you were already... Because I remember... I'm a moment person. I remember things. Mm-hmm. So I remember walking through the parking lot in Buttonwood Park, and you were with Jared, and I didn't know you yet, and you were talking about Krysset, and you were talking so openly, which I love, that the struggle. You were just so openly being we're just not having and I remember being wow, that's someone who's coming out here just being honest, because when you look at a business, it's hard for a consumer to think that there's any struggles behind the scenes.
Yeah, well, and I think
people automatically think you're rich. They own a storefront. They are rich.
No, we have debt, is what we have.
So
100. Yeah.
So I always loved that about you, is that you were always very honest about what's going on and sharing the struggle.
Yeah. Well, I think it's important. I'm not a big fan of gatekeeping in general, which actually that term is new-ish, and it wasn't around 10 years ago, but I like it. It's a good one. Because I like when I don't think anybody succeeds by holding on to stuff so tightly. Yeah. I think building community, and in helping everybody kind of come up around you. I think that's a really needed thing in so many places. Somebody popped up in my Instagram the other day, and they were well, I really feel that such and such an industry is that nobody tells you how to do anything. And I was I think it's crazy that that's still happening today, because you can Google anything, but but it's so much better to get it from a person, because a human's going to tell you how it really is and what it's really and all that stuff. So I've always been very open with that. And I think when I started working for the online educational company, they really put sort of community and collaboration over competition at the forefront. Because it's very easy to look at, you know, I mean, there's how many different varieties of jewelry can you really make? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, of course there's going to be repetition and things, and somebody's stuff might look similar to whatever. And of course there's dishonest people that are just like out there to do like mean, crappy things, but that happens everywhere.
I think it's every industry.
Yeah, I mean, it's every industry. It's not. So, but I think that everybody grows so much more if they're a little bit more open, if like, you know, whatever. And I've always believed that that was important. So, and I think that it's also an important part of being part of a community is not that you want to run around and be like, oh, woe is me. I'm not a fan of that either. But like, you don't want to hide entirely. Like, I think it's, we're all part of the same community here. We all live in the same place. Like, we're all sharing the same space. So I think it is important to be open and, you know, about stuff. But we've seen so much growth in the last couple of years. Yardley has changed so much. And I think like one of being naive of opening a storefront, because I didn't have a storefront before. I had a jewelry line before. Those are two different things. So I was selling like diamonds and, you know, doing anniversary, you know, bands and, you know, engagement rings and things. That's very different than opening a storefront. Those two are very, very different things. So I thought like when I came into Yardley, and granted we were like off the beaten path a little over on Afton for the first year we were in business, I was like, people will just be excited there's a store in Yardley, because I was excited there's a store in Yardley, right? So I was like, whoa, everybody's just gonna be like, wow, there's a store. There hasn't been a store. That's what I thought. And then basically people is like, you're too small for people to care. Or you're too out of the way for not to care, but like, it's like you're too not visible enough on your own. I think actually everybody succeeds together. So as
100%.
Like, yeah, so for
I didn't realize your store was there for a long time. And I was there in town every day.
Well,
I think I just wasn't paying attention because the vault's right there, and then you have the jewelry store.
Yeah.
But you've done like stuff out front and stuff now. And honestly, I said this about you and Lisa, like from Yardley. I feel like you two are like the people who've been bringing Yardley up. Because like social media is so big for a small town like this.
It is.
And you guys are the ones that are constantly pushing Yardley.
So let me pretend to not know the answer to this question. Is that a deliberate thing you've done on the content and positioning side? Is understanding that Krysset itself may not be the destination, however Yardley and the collective of stores is, and therefore using that angle.
Yes.
Oh wow! Tell me more.
How did you know that?
So I met Jess probably about a year ago at this point. At a meetup where you did a presentation that was based on that, and I'm just like, yep. Love the energy, love the vibe, love the collaborative effort, like, so, and it was a really, like, it was a well thought out and put together talk as well, like, not just the vibe, but the substance behind it, so.
Coaching chops.
I mean, because you were, like, fresh off of a seminar or
yes, I had just come from a big seminar out in Denver, which was amazing. I had such a good time with that,
So anyway, continue. What was
the seminar?
Well, that and just how you tied it into the position.
So, you know, the interesting thing with Yardley is that I think, I've only lived here 8 years, so I'm originally from New Jersey. We bounced around a lot and eventually wanted to, like, my in-laws live in Frenchtown. We want to get back towards the Delaware River because we, you know, my husband works in New York, but we still need train access. So I used to spend time in Yardley pre-vault days, so that would have been like 14 years ago-ish or something.
You lived here longer than me.
Really?
I've only lived here since 2020.
Oh, okay.
Back when Vault was an actual bank.
Yeah, still a bank.
It was at that
point.
It was.
Well, they're like 12-ish now, so they,
Okay.
I just spoke to someone yesterday about the Vault, though, and they said that when the Vault was coming up, that they had like a GoFundMe page and stuff.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, the whole thing. I remember, because like, so basically we were living in Lawrenceville at the time, and like we would come into Yardley and we'd walk the canal, go to Contav. When Vault opened up, we would go to the Vault. There really wasn't much here at the time as far as like going and doing the thing, right? Like, because I think there was a bank where Refillery is and whatever else. So anyways, we moved away up to Jersey City for a while, but wanted to get back down this way. So, and we were like, well, Yardley is a great spot. We remembered it from back in the day. And then, you know, moved here. We've been here 8 years. And I think as like the town has been changing, it's interesting meeting people because people are like fiercely in love with Yardley. Like they move here, they stay here, they die here. That's it. Like not quite that drastically, but like people, it's definitely a stay town. Yeah. Like people come and stay, and that's actually why we moved here, because we had been bouncing around so much for such a long time that we wanted to go someplace where we felt we could stay for a longer time, and that we knew we could, you know, have careers there and still like have access to family and friends and things that we like to do. And Yardley was like the spot. Like we didn't really look very far from Yardley when we were looking and really wanted to be closer to a town. But the interesting thing is that Yardley has this like, everybody loves it so fiercely, but there hasn't been a lot here to love. Like it's not that you don't love going to the canal or the Lake Afton. So, but now it's like the last like 5 years, it's like the businesses have really come up and, you know, made the town more of a community, and it's like all the, you know, places like Experience Yardley and the YBA and all that stuff, like working collaboratively and the different events they have, like all of those things like fosters so much community and gives place like a space for people to be. And I think it's a pretty beautiful thing. Like when you're walking down the sidewalk and you bump into like, you know, somebody, your neighbor you hadn't seen in a while, or maybe somebody from your kids pickup line or whatever. I think that's an amazing moment. Like I am such a fan of just that kind of like walking around town and like being like, hey. I think it's like such a beautiful part of the existence of a small town. And like,
the fact that a lot of our business owners live in Yardley too. So it's like a love for the town, a love for their home.
Yes.
So I have a question on
previous guest Sarah. I have a question
I have a question on your storefront first. What kind of research did you do prior to getting the storefront, and did you look at other areas? Or was Yardley the spot?
So how I ended up just being like, no, I'm opening a storefront in Yardley was pretty deliberate. So basically, when I was a kid, my parents would always take me to like go to Frenchtown, go to little stores. We would go on vacation. We'd go to places where they had like, and not even like bougie galleryism, but like places that are more like, you know, kind of how Krysset is, where like there's a lot of handcrafted jewelry and pottery and stuff like that. That was a thing that I always enjoyed as a kid. And my mom and dad would always take us places like that. And I liked that experience. So, and I really thought that Yardley was like super missing that. Mm-hmm. And having just come out of Jersey City, where there's a lot of like entrepreneurial spirit and a lot of people, it was like up and coming, you know, at the time. And it was, you know, a lot of people who were just like doing really cool things, and I was in the, you know, maker community in that area as well. And I had a, studio in Hoboken where it was like an old leatherworking factory. This place was wild.
That's cool.
I mean, it was like it had like concrete floors that were like 10 feet thick. It was weird. So, but it was all turned into these crazy artist studios. So you had people doing jewelry, painting, blowing glass. Like you had like photographers, like all these people doing crazy stuff. And I thought that vibe was so cool, and all of the stuff that was happening up there, and seeing people taking chances, opening really neat storefronts, and like just how much that contributed to the overall growth and health and well-being of the downtown and the community itself, and how much like people benefit from that. That when I came to Yardley, I was like, well, we don't really have as much of this, because I think at the time it was really like Commonplace Reader, Gianna Rose.
I know I haven't really been here long. Yeah. Like I said, I think June will be 6 years.
Okay.
I do know people who've lived in Yardley for forever. I've always been like, oh, it's always been like a realtor, like real estate town.
Do you know what I found out that was super interesting? I always thought that it had always been that it was only just like realtors and lawyer's office and
was it not?
Services. No, it wasn't. It used to have stuff. So there used to be a hardware store, and I think it was like more like the 50s, 60s, and 70s.
Yeah.
There used to be a lot of that stuff here. And then basically
before
what happened
Walmarts and
before
stuff came.
malls, basically, 80s and 90s. Like, and that's when like a lot of downtowns like lost, you know, and then Walmart and things like that. So, and then at some point in time, I think everybody kind of liked the idea of the town being quiet, and then there wasn't quite as much support for that stuff, but that has changed drastically in the last decade.
Yeah.
So I think, but I actually thought that Yardley had always just been kind of sleepy, but it actually used to be like a commerce business where, like, you know, there used to be a town where there was a lot of different types of stores and things, and but it was more like 50s, 60s, 70s, or maybe even earlier, but like, you know, but we're in like, you know, our generation, the generation before us, like memory, like it really wasn't much, and people who've lived here even 20, 30, 40 years will tell you the same thing. So it's really the last like 5 or 6 years we've seen so much. So I wanted that for the town. I wanted it selfishly for myself.
You came in when there was no one else here. So you almost started the trend of businesses being like
single-handedly.
Well, no, I'm saying
which defies the entire talk. Single-handedly.
Just me?
Just
collaboration.
I'm saying people saw you there and they thought, okay, she's still there and she's doing it. Now maybe I can come in. Like, like Barrow Vintage, like if I owned a company like that, I'd be looking at your business and like, okay, you can be there. Maybe I can be over here too.
Well, I hoped that was the case because I figured, I mean, I don't know. To be honest, if I had opened the shop and then no one else came along, I'm not entirely sure that I would have like been able to stay. Like I'm not, to be honest, because like our business has grown as the town has grown. So like for example, like that one little store went out of business that was across where the refillery is now. And
I don't even know it was there.
I can't remember the name. 1 South Main, I think. And then it was empty for a while. We actually saw quite a bit of dip in traffic because it was empty, because you know what I mean? So then when refillery opened up, it was like, it gives people more of a reason to come in town and take up space. Okay, there's this movie that in the 90s, there's a movie called Dennis the Menace.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, all right.
What are you talking about,
in the movie, the mom makes this presentation. She's like a marketing executive or something, and she's making this presentation to like a board of people, whatever. And she says in it, she's like, she wants to move the toy store upstairs. And what she talks about is what that does is it gives the moms a reason to take up space in the rest of the mall before they get to the toy store, because no matter what, the kid wants to go to the toy store. And for whatever reason, that one little nugget like stuck in my head, and I was like, yeah, the other things, like having other destinations in the town allows people to come and want to take up space in the town. So one of the things that I always talk about with our staff, and when we first met, that presentation that I did, it was largely about giving people one more reason to come into town. Just one. It's not 1,000. It's not trying to sell them on the whole idea of community and this and that, which like I'm definitely down for if you want to talk about it long enough. But, you know, so when somebody comes into town, even whether they live a mile away and they haven't spent much time in the town, which like happens all the time, or they're coming from Philly or New York, or they're day tripping with their family or whatever the thing is, I always am listening to what they're saying and responding with just like, well, what's one more thing they might really love to do now that fits like the vibe of what we just talked about, or one more reason that they might come back. Like, and that's what I focus on when when I'm having interactions with customers. So I think it's an important part of like getting people to come back like as a routine thing.
See, and I love that you're so collaborative that you're thinking about that. Yeah. You're thinking about, okay, they're in my store. How can I get them to come back to go to someone else's store?
Yeah.
Because chances are, if they come back and they go to someone else's store, they're probably going to pop over to Krysset again because you're really good customer service and speaking to them.
You know what I mean? Like, there's just I feel like that's like, it's a win-win situation for literally everybody. It's a win for the person because they're just like, people want something to do. They want a place to go. They want an experience. They want to have fantastic gelato. They want to walk on the canal. They want to do all these things. So if I can be the catalyst for like opening that door for them, it's actually a thing that they want as well. It's not just, and that's why it's like, I think owning a business in a small community is like a 365-degree angle. Like, it's not just like, I'm in business, I need to sell things to pay for stuff, like, and pay for staff and whatever. I think we're all here to benefit each other as part of like an ecosystem. So I think that making sure that we're keeping that top of mind, like as business owners, and also like helping the staff. So, and the more anybody can do those kinds of things for their own communities, I think it's really beneficial to the town itself.
And it costs you what to do that?
Nothing.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Just awareness. That's it.
Yeah.
I always tell people,
effort that you do anyway.
Discounts.
Yeah.
Everyone discounts just like sharing something. Like, I share people's stuff all the time. I want to see people do well, like, too much. Because the podcast does try and focus on like a mental health aspect on entrepreneurs. Can you give us like a really rough time that you went through, and like how you ended up like getting out of it, and like kind of tie into some advice of someone who's thinking about taking a plunge into like being an entrepreneur, working for themselves, opening up a store?
So the interesting thing is, like, because I don't think you actually know this about me, but you just opened up like an entire Pandora's box, because when I opened Krysset, I had left my full-time job working and also closed my jewelry business at the same time, left the coaching and, online education position that I had, which was full-time, closed my jewelry business and planned on opening a business. So of course this is something my husband and I talked about, like, you know, we're planned for it, but like you're losing all of that income coming in.
Yeah, you're
like cold turkey.
Those boats are on fire.
Yeah, like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Just done, right? So then we like start going into, and I say we, I mean me. So basically I start like working on what do I want Krysset to be. I started out as a like an online company only for doing like a gift boxes, basically. Decided that those curated gift boxes, while it actually went really well, was not quite the container that I wanted. And I had always kind of been like looking at real estate in town and whatever, and seeing if something was open that was appropriate. Like I wanted to take a chance, but I didn't want to like lose my shirt, you know? So eventually found a space, moved in, whatever. As that was happening, we had some things going on at home that were just completely out of our control. And basically the first 2 years that it was like a snowball, and some of it is not my story to tell, so I'm not going to tell it on a podcast, but let's just say like at home, things were not good. It was literally the single hardest 2 years of my entire life were the first 2 years of being open at Krysset, and it was not because of my business. That is how much was going on at home. Yeah. Like for those first 2 years. It was intense. And I don't even know how we got out of everything and are still here, to be honest.
Well,
like,
something had to get you through it, though. Something had to.
So, I mean, I don't know. I guess, like, if you talked about as part of this is, like, being advice, right? So, one of the things I can see is, like, if you're thinking about opening a business, it doesn't really matter what it is. Just be prepared to do the thing 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times, and then you're going to do it again, and you're going to hate yourself in the morning because you're tired, and you're going to hate everything, and you're tired, and like you feel like you're talking about the same thing again and again until you're blue in the face. It's repetitive, it's constant, it's grit, it's dogged. Like you have to just do it again. You feel like you went out there and did the thing, you're going to do it again, and you're going to do it 100 times, 1,000 times after that. And that's the only thing I can say is like you just have to one foot in front of the other and then just keep going. There is, I don't know how else, like
just keep swimming.
Break it into digestible chunks and dig in.
Well, and I had somebody ask me one time, they were like, I feel like you do so much. And they're like, how do you like do so many different things? Because like, you know, when you own a business, especially in the beginning, you're doing like
everything.
Well, I mean, I still like you're always doing everything, right?
You didn't start off with an employee, right?
No, I did have, my shop manager did come on board probably about 8 months after I opened. And a lot of it, maybe 6 actually though, because a lot of it had to do with everything that was going on at home. Yeah. Like, so because I couldn't be in the store. So I literally just like, we had a friend who he was just like, well, I'm not really doing anything. And I was like, all right.
I'm free. I'll come,
exactly.
I'll come on the store.
That's basically it. Yeah. So, but he was with me for 4 years. So it was a long time, you know? So, and I basically just kind of like tossed him in the store because it was just like, everything was just such a wreck in my personal life.
Yeah.
And, you know, everything's fine now, but it was a rough 2 years. And I think like you are just kind of doing so many different things. And when you're trying to accomplish something with like a long-term goal, because I always set out that this was not something I wanted to do for 2 years or 5 years. This was like 20 years, like, you know, long-term plan. I did not want to be one of those people posting those sob stories about how they tried to open a store. They were there for 3 years and ended up closing, and thanks to the love and whatever. I was like, no, I'm not doing this. This is like a 20-year plan. So sometimes you kind of have to follow your energy flow, because like you're not always performing at 100% at all points in time. Do you know what I mean? It's not like you're not just running around at 100%, like we're on the task list, like we're doing the thing, like things go wrong, they take too long, they take way longer than you think, like then there's always hiccups with stuff, like delivery is coming late, like maybe you didn't get the package you needed, like I mean there's a million different things. Tech setup, tech breaking. So like a lot of the things that I feel like I accomplished in the beginning was kind of like, well, if you're jittery and you can't hold still and your brain is going 1,000,000 miles a minute, that is not a good time to be working on a spreadsheet or trying to write an email. Do you know what I mean? That's the time that you take that energy and shift it to like, okay, well, I was also planning on re-merchandising this thing in the store, or I had to build this cabinet, or I had to do a physical thing in the space. Like maybe it was just that it needed cleaning, or that, there was like a thing that needed to be done, like whatever. You kind of transfer the energy into the next thing. And I think that was one of the early things in the business that kept things like going, is just like trying to focus on, there's always something you kind of have to be dogged about and get it done. But sometimes transferring your energy into other places in the business when you couldn't hold still, or when you're really tired, you're like, what's the low lift thing I could do? And trying to follow that energy a little bit was like helpful instead of like working against it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I like that. I've never really thought about doing it structured like that. Because,
Me either.
People talk about time blocking and stick to it no matter what, but if it's something that can wait an hour, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it has to be situational and basically contextually appropriate. You can't put off doing the taxes.
No, of course not. Yeah.
That's I'm digging on that, because it's like you still have to prioritize and execute, but you're not forcing yourself. It's like you're forcing yourself to be a night person when you're a morning person.
Exactly.
I say don't fight that.
Exactly.
If you get your best work done at 9 p.m., then work second shift.
Exactly.
Make that your thing.
But when I was doing a lot of the coaching, like we would always be helping business owners, because like when you own a business, your business doesn't I think it's the biggest difference between having a job and having a business is that the job at some point in time, there is an expectation of you can just put it away. And it's not that people don't, obviously we're all guilty of like overworking in every, career, but, and working when we shouldn't, and working too much, and it's like saying yes to everything. I think everybody falls into those things. It's not just entrepreneurs. But the thing with the businesses is that it almost like doesn't sleep in your brain.
Well, it can't sleep, because a job, if you don't show up for your job and you're working for someone else, you'll probably still be okay.
Yeah.
You own the business. Like, it's not a job for you. It's a living.
Yeah.
Wow, it's not a job for you. It's no,
living.
there's something. It's a living. No, that's not. I'll come up with a better line.
It's a better line.
It's not a job for
to
you.
be continued later.
Yeah, to be continued.
With a better slogan.
Yeah, to be continued.
Yeah. There we go.
We're over. Of course we are.
It's fine. The conversation's
all right.
run over.
Well, final thoughts, Jess, that you want to share with anyone before we wrap it up?
Like, I don't know. This is kind of just coming off of the end of that little conversation is that I think in your own little world, in your own little way, if you can bring people into your circle, it is one of the best things to do. Like, just ask the neighbor over that you haven't met, and say hi to the person and make somebody's day. I think it's a very small thing, but having now worked with the public for a long time in many different ways, it is the best feeling, and you don't know how much that actually means to somebody else, that even if it's something really tiny that, that they need that. And I think that's, a good lesson learned for anyone coming out of Krysset. So
cool. Yep. Well, thank you, Jess. We end every show the same way, and we don't know why we do it, but we're going to keep doing it.
Okay.
We're going to decide who decided that this is how we end, but we end with a leg kick.
A leg kick. Oh, I've got good shoes on for the leg kick.
I've been checking out your shoes the whole time. They're awesome.
You've got good shoes too.
They're on their way out. I can't find a replacement.
Here's my knees.
You're doing your best, and some days it's a mess, but you're showing up still, so we're very impressed. Feeling the pressure, yeah, we relate. It's okay to not be okay. Minding our business, let's talk it out. Jess and Jonesy know what it's all about. From burnouts and doubts to boundaries that stick.